Well, it's a bone-chilling cold day here in South Korea, and you can see, well, it's snowing as well. But to make things up, we've got a car, a really hot car. Well, this is the Ioniq 5N, the faster, sportier version of the Ioniq 5. And this one is something that's an absolute treat to drive. Now, why am I saying that? Well, that's exactly what I'll tell you over the next few minutes. Now, starting off with the design, well, it is a version of the Ioniq 5, so it's not radically different, but it's got a lot of sporty bits that truly tell that this is maximized for performance. So you can see this colored stripe here, the N badging, also the way you've got this color pattern here and the bumpers. All of it comes together to give the car a much more hunkered down and an aggressive look. As you move towards the side, again, you've got these massive sporty wheels and the red brake calipers, all of it to show the performance and the sporty intent that the car has. Same treatment has been given along the side and at the back. All of it comes together to tell people in an instant look that this is not your standard Ioniq 5. This is a car maximized for performance. It's built to go fast. Now, talking about the cabin of the Ioniq 5N, well, it's a fast car, like I said, and the cabin has been given enough of those spicy touches to make it look red hot. You've got this N steering wheel here, so you'll see a lot of N around the seats, the steering. It all just tells you that this is a performance-oriented car. The steering is, again, nice, chunky to hold. It's got these N buttons. What they do? Well, they do some magic stuff. What is that? I will come to that later. But again, yes, it's got a lot of colored buttons. All of them do great things. Then again, you've got these brilliant seats. The side support that you get is really nice, and that comes in very handy when you're going around corners or when you try to go in a drift mode, which this car will happily let you do. In terms of space also, it is pretty much similar to the Ioniq 5, so it's not a different car entirely. But yes, I mean, it's a practical car. It is fast car, but it's something that you can use on a daily basis. So it merges practicality and performance very well. It is one of the best fusions of these two elements that you can expect to see in an EV. All right, and now on to the most interesting part about the Ioniq 5N, and that of course is the way it drives. Let me get the basic stats out of the way first. In terms of the battery, well, it does have an upgraded battery, not the same battery as the standard Ioniq 5. It's got an 84 kilowatt hour battery, but that battery is not aimed at giving you more range. It's aimed at giving you some blistering performance. And as a result of that, a lot of electronics and two motors, and motors that can go up to 21,000 RPM. Insane tech. And all of this comes together to give you some very good performance. Now, when it comes to performance, well, EVs have always been great. You know, they have this instantly available torque, and as a result of that, you get very good acceleration. But at the end of the day, EVs are quite boring to drive. They might be fast in a straight line, but there's hardly any character. I mean, that's the problem I have with EVs. But with the Ioniq 5N, that's not a challenge, because the engineers have been, sort of in a happy mood when they were developing this car, because this comes with some very nice, cool features. First is the sound. Yes, an EV that makes a sound, and it's not one of those silly sounds. It has a fake sound, but it mimics an internal combustion engine. And it also has an 8-speed gearbox. Yes, an EV with an 8-speed gearbox. It's all fake, but all of this fake tech works well. Now, how well? Let me show you. Well, all you need to do is press this N button. Remember at the beginning of the video, I told you these are magic buttons. So you press this, you suddenly get an RPM display here. There's these paddle shifters. I will drive this car like it has an 8-speed gearbox. Well, I'm on public roads in Seoul, so I can't really exceed the speed limits here, but you can listen the sound. So this is something that works well. It's not just a fake sound being pumped through the speakers. It works well. The gearbox thing, it works well. So it bounces off the rev limiter. It's that accurate. When you are downshifting, it decelerates. So every time you downshift, you go from 8, 7, 6, 5. It again, the kind of braking you get from a gearbox, the car decelerates that way, and all of this makes the Ioniq 5N pretty fun to drive. Yes, I'm not saying that it's as character rich as a petrol sports car, but hey, it is far, far better than a muted, dull, yet fast electric car. And that is what I love about the Ioniq 5N. Even in terms of handling, it's great. Even, the chassis has been re-engineered. It's got more welding points, so they have worked to make it more rigid to handle the kind of speeds it will go around at the corner. So all of that has been done, and as a result of that, it's a car that accelerates fast. You can go around corners fast. You can hit a top whack of about 260 kilometers. You can go from 0 to 100 in just about 3.5 seconds. So all of that makes it a thoroughly enjoyable experience. And that's not it. It also gets a boost mode. So if the regular power isn't enough for you, for a few seconds, you get a boost. You can activate that manually by pressing this button. And at that moment, for a few seconds, you get 650 electric galloping horses at the disposal of your right foot. Boy, oh boy, it does turn into a pretty dramatic scene. So now that we've established that the Ioniq 5N is a pretty fun to drive EV with all of this hilarious tech that actually works to a large extent, the big question is, will it come to India? As of now, Hyundai Motor India says, well, there are no active plans to get it to our country, but I think it makes a great case for itself. And here's why. Well, the standard Ioniq that is sold in India costs about 45 lakh rupees and it's assembled there. This one surely won't be assembled, it will be imported. And considering that if this costs about 70 lakh rupees, I think this makes a great case for itself. And here's why. Because a lot of small luxury SUVs cost about 60 lakh rupees and they don't really offer anything outstanding. This offers a lot more than most of them, but it also offers you on borderline supercar performance, nice character. I mean, despite being an EV, it gives you some sort of a character. And this tech, all these sound and the gearbox things, as fake as it might be, at the end of the day, I was pleasantly surprised by it because all of them genuinely work to a large extent. So keeping all those things in mind, I think this is a great car and it'll be good if India can get it. I'm sure in limited numbers, it will sell and it will step up the game in terms of brand value for Hyundai. So it can be a very good brand shaper for the company in India.